back to our continuing coverage of the August protest, and we're trying as much as possible to keep the conversation going and touching base with all the states of the Federation. And so far, we've seen some deployment of protesters in Port Harcourt, the River State capital, but in Abuja, there's no action yet. And we've also visited some parts of Lagos, Ojota to be precise, where our reporter has reported no action yet, and of course businesses coming out as usual. Let's touch base yet again, this time with our correspondent Olu Phillips, who is standing by as we speak at Lekki tollgate to bring us up to speed with what's happening there. Hello Olu, good morning. What's happening at Lekki tollgate?
Good morning, Buki. What is happening, Buki? Good morning, Nigeria. Good morning, the global world. What's happening is that apart from these few vehicles that are flying through my left and to my right side, nothing. We've not seen just one person up here. We've just maybe like what the IGP said yesterday, that if protesters do not stay peaceful, the government might be forced to bring in military. We can see a lot of military patrol today, and I hope that's not suggestive of anything. There's heavy military presence here at Lekki Toll Plaza, and if you rewind very quickly 4 years ago, or nearly 4 years ago, you can tell how very, very busy, how very, very eventful this place was for 11 days until that fateful moment around 5:30 p.m. October 2020, when all went berserk. And so perhaps to forestall something like that, not even one protester has attempted to find his or her way to this place. And what we have seen is just a few vehicles, like you can see from my camera, just going through back and forth through the toll plaza. And but we can also tell you that on our way to this place, we drove through the city center, the central business district area, Marina, and the environs. I can tell you that it seemed like there's an unwritten public holiday issued to people not to come to work, because businesses are still closed, especially formal business centers, the banks and all of that are still very closed. Everybody seemed to be on the edge, and people watching to see what the situation will be. Perhaps, I hope, maybe the protesters have not issued a new time zone for when they might be able to come out. But right now, there are no indications that the protesters will gather here. But we'll keep watch, Bukola.
Yes, indeed, Olu. You talked about your observations on your way down to Lekki tollgate. I wonder if you also noticed heavy security presence in those areas as well, Marina, Victoria Island, Ikoyi, before you got to Lekki tollgate. And just for the record, the IG said yesterday that some of the policemen, security operatives will be wearing an armed band to, connote that an area is red alert. I wonder if you're observing that with the security agents that are there at the Lekki tollgate location.
Eyes could see, even from late yesterday, is a different set of security personnel that are obviously members of the Nigerian police, but they were not on uniforms. They were just on mufti, but they had memorabilia of red clothes tied on their shoulders, tied on their lower arm, tied on their rifles, tied around their legs. But I will notice that those set of guys, I think they call them the tactical unit, all had a red emblem on them. Well, you're telling me now that the IGP says that could be indicative of a red zone. So if that is what it represents, that is what it is. But we can also tell you that as we approached this place, like you asked earlier, we saw trucks, pickup vehicles, Hilux vehicles of military men stationed at the edge of most exit roads. Like at the Takumba Demola, they are there. Somewhere around the Eco roundabout, the Eco Hotel roundabout, they are there. Somewhere at the extreme of Ozumbamba, the way they are there. You can just see that these guys are strategically positioned. I don't want to believe they want to prevent people from protesting or Nigerians from owning their views, but they supposedly, in my estimate, are there to make sure there is no breakdown of law and order. Yeah, it's not a scenario you want to see in any part of the world where the military is called into civilian territory, but this is what the situation is at this moment here at the Lekki toll and its environs. Buki?
All right. Olu, thank you so much for reporting, and keep safe as well. We'll touch base with you as soon as possible, whatever develops there. So let's move from Lekki to Ojota, where we have Kelly Giga also bringing us up to speed. Kelly, Ojota is a place designated by the government for people to converge on. Are you seeing anyone? What is going on? What can you tell us?
Well, absolutely, Kayode. We arrived here just about 10 or 15 minutes ago. It was a bit calm here. The protesters, pockets of protesters, I should say, just gathered and, of course, began to make their demands and grievances felt. But it turned a bit rowdy some moments ago, and that's why it is what it is here. But just before I tell you why and how things got this way, when we arrived here as well, we saw a heavy presence of security officials here. The police is here, the NSCDC is here. We can also see Vigilante. Lagos Neighborhood is here as well. Neighborhood Watch is also here. So there's a heavy presence of security officials here. Their trucks is also here. The trucks are here. We can also tell you that while we've been here as well, they've also had series of patrols from different teams as well, from the police and all of that on this same axis. But it was peaceful until a moment ago when some of the protesters told me behind camera that some boys had come to infiltrate the protest. Now, they're not inside the Ganifa Himi Park. They are just outside. If you're conversant or familiar with Lagos, this is the Korodu Road. It takes takes you to mile 12. We're just a stone's throw away from mile 12. And so the allegation is that some persons are here to infiltrate the protest, to make it a bit violent and disrupt it. Pro-government protesters, they have tagged them. And so that's why it's a bit rowdy this way. But let's see if we can get in some views now and speak to one of the lawyers here. But I'm sure we can see placards with different inscriptions here. You can see this one says, place all political office holders on the minimum wage of just 70,000 naira, which was signed only by Mr. President a few days ago. I have one of the lawyers here for the protesters, and let him just bring us up to speed with what exactly has played out the last few hours. Please come. What's your name, please?
My name is Justice Ojeno.
All right. I understand that you're one of the lawyers for the protesters, or to the protesters. What exactly has just played out a few moments ago?
Okay, what played out was since yesterday. I was on ground since yesterday, and the calisthenics of the exchanges between persons who are for the protest and persons who are against the protest is what just played out again. It played out yesterday in that while as a lawyer I recognize and acknowledge the right to freedom of expression, association and movement as encapsulated in sections 39, 40 and 41 of our constitution of the persons who are for the protest, I also acknowledge that the persons who are against the protest too have such rights. But where the red line has been crossed both yesterday and almost about to be crossed today is when the people who are against the protest are actually now trying to physically assault and threaten. We saw that happen yesterday, threaten persons who are for the protest. And that's where we come in and we say no. And we are very, very happy and impressed so far with what the police, members of the Nigerian police force and other law enforcement have been able to do so far. They've been able to maintain the peace. But for them, we know that the person against the protest would have practically just made the life of the persons who are for the protest a living hell, and the protest will almost likely not have been sustainable.
I wonder what's the plan now. This number of protesters we can see here, are we expecting more protesters? What's the plan for the movement?
Okay, hopefully, it's my hope and prayer that more persons come to join. I'm not and ensure that the rights of anybody who is here and for the protest, and of course the persons who are also against the protest, are fully protected and ventilated in a local. You can see the way I'm dressed. In the event that any of them are arrested, we are willing and we will speedily rush to our courts to ask for their fundamental human rights to bail. And we are very, very sure that we will be able to get it.
All right, thank you so much. So there you go, the lawyer to the protesters, bringing us up to speed with what just played out a moment ago. So it's a bit calm now, but so a moment ago it was rowdy. I tell you what, good commendation there for the police from the lawyers, because there's a heavy presence of police officers. The last time I did a live crossing was somewhere at Berger area, and apart from the RRS vehicle, which is always stationed at the Berger Junction, we did not see any other security presence on our way to this place until we got here and saw trucks and saw officials of the police, the NSCDC, Lagos Watch, all of them just here. Guys.
Thank you so much, Kelly, for that report. And of course, as we told Olu, we'll touch base with you if anything develops. And it's quite commendable to see that everyone has right, both those for and against what is going on. The police is doing their job to the best of their ability. Kayode?
Oh, yes, indeed. So we're moving around the country now. We've given you a snapshot of the nation's capital, several places in Lagos. But there have also been questions about what's playing out in southeast Nigeria. So let's join our correspondent, Joy Odinye from Anambra State, as she brings us an update on the situation there.
Dr. Alex Ekweme Square, Oka, the Anambra State capital. This place is significant because it always serves as a convergent center for rallies, roadworks, protest march, and every activity that will involve a large number of persons. It also serves as a wonderful place for lovers of healthy living to converge and have their physical fitness and their workouts. As you can see behind me, they're already on it this morning. And this is day 2 of the nationwide protest. And we are here to see activities. What's going on in Anambra State? Are they still shunning the protests? And to tell you, it is still the same, because yesterday when I walked around, I noticed that there were no places where people gathered to protest. In fact, I made calls across various areas in Anambra State like Onitsha, Hiala, Newi, and I got the same response. There was no protest anywhere. This is attributable to the joint message sent out by the various youth associations in Anambra State, including the Ohaneze Ndibu, the National Youth Council of Nigeria, the National Association of Nigerian Students, and also the Anambra State Association of Town Unions, the youth wing. They sent out a message appealing and asking youths in Anambra State not to be part of the exercise because they fear hijack. They fear that unscrupulous elements might hijack the process and then cause mayhem in the state. For them, yes, one can start a protest, but you will never know how to stop the process. And so they said nobody, no member of theirs should be part of the process, and everybody or anybody that did that would be held responsible. And so today we are out again and we are witnessing the same thing we witnessed yesterday. People are going about their businesses. You see those of them in physical fitness. They are here, trying to keep fit. And when we were coming, we noticed that shops have been opened and everything, seems normal in Anambra State. No protest. We keep monitoring, we keep roving around to see if there will be any development further. From Oka, the Anambra State capital, Joy Odinye.
Lugbe area of Abuja, and we have eyewitness video just to give you a sense of what played out and an account of the situation. So there were protests, and the aftermath of that protest is what you're about to see right now. So eyewitness account says that there was a clash between police and some protesters who were burning tires on the road, and this is said to have led to the death of some people. The eyewitness say they saw blood on the floor, and some drivers on the road were driving with fresh green leaves on their cars just to say, well, they're in solidarity with the protesters. So they see eyewitness video showing people carrying the young man, and then this is at the hospital getting care. It's a very sad situation seeing this play out for protests that all of the organizers had said, well, our goal is to ensure this protest is peaceful, that we air our anger and our discontent with the economic situation in the country. But things went south, and there you see eyewitness video from the situation that played out in Lugbe area of the nation's capital, Abuja.
I'm telling you. Please.
And from Abuja, we move to the southern part of Nigeria, Port Harcourt in River State to be precise, where protesters are back at the pleasure park, their takeoff point from the protests yesterday. And according to reports, they are presently causing a barricade on the major Aba-Port Harcourt Express Road. Updates there from our correspondent at the pleasure park. And you know also that yesterday, Port Harcourt in River State had blazed a trail for this protest, starting off as early as about 7:34 to 35 a.m. ahead of other locations in the country. And there they are, the protesters, embarking on a procession pretty much on the Aba-Port Harcourt Expressway. We also sight security agents on the right-hand side of the expressway if you're watching your television screens right now. And of course, also on the left-hand side of the expressway, trying to keep the peace. This is still Port Harcourt, the River State capital, and we see from these images we're bringing to you a market where business is pretty much going on as usual. There's no protest here, but in other parts of town that we showed you earlier, protesters are still on with their action. But residents of Port Harcourt are out and about their normal business for the day in this part. So these ones are not observing the protest. Transporters, as we can see, are also about their businesses this morning. As we have reported from other parts of the country, in Lagos also we've seen some Nigerians going about their normal businesses.
And I think, businesses should actually go hand in. If the ideal is they go hand in hand with protests. So while you're doing your protests, other people can go about their businesses. And I think that's been the clamor.
This is the latest development as far as the Lugbe incident is concerned. You can see with the visuals you're seeing, clearly there was an incident, maybe tires being burnt, an incident of some sort, but it was quite chaotic last night. But this just what was left of that particular incident yesterday. Perhaps could this be the reason why the Abuja protesters are not settling out? Because it looks a bit close to volatile in some parts of the nation's capital. So everybody's keeping the watch, security agencies, even protesters. Nothing is happening to the best of our knowledge so far. But as soon as anything develops, we'll let you know. But those are visuals from Lugbe in Abuja. All right, so those are places we've been able to touch base with, and as the program evolves, we'll touch base with as many other places as possible. But now being joined in the program to give their perspective on what's been going on so far on the day 2 of the what we call the August protest, the end ban governance, as they call it, by the protesters. Mr. Jite Ogunye is a legal practitioner. He joins us in our Lagos studio. Mr. Jite, thank you for coming. We also have Mr. Onyekachi Adekoya, security and defense consultant, joining us as well right here in our Lagos studio.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
So let's start with you, gentlemen. It will be your initial assessment of what played out yesterday as against this morning. I would like to specifically start with you, Mr. Adekoya, based on what the IGP said yesterday. He gave a review, perhaps, of the report his men gave to him as to what happened on the field, and saying that policemen were attacked unprovoked and they are now on red alert. Maybe help us understand what is red alert as well. And then he also talked about that if things escalate, they are going to invite the military. Some are saying his tone was too combative. Others are saying, the state has to take responsibility to protect itself. But before I get your view, let's get other persons who are joining us via Zoom. Dr. Aleye Tari Theophilus is the president, Ijaw Youth Council Worldwide. Joins us via Zoom, as well as Ronkeshe Ombo, National Director, APC Professional Women Council. Thank you for coming on the program as well. All right, let me start with you, gentlemen. As we get other guests to join in, we'll let you in. So, Ms. Adekoya.
Okay, first things first, I think the CTREP, what you call a situation report, by the IG yesterday is commendable. You must understand that when you have a crisis situation, communication can be the difference between further escalation or total chaos, or you begin to move towards a nuanced closure of the issues. We didn't see this in the last NSAS protest, where, for example, a top government official in charge of security will come up and give a daily report of what has occurred. So first things first, the press briefing by the IG should be sustained and continued and should be supported. In terms of tone of language and what it means by red alert, you would see a consistency in the language of the IG from the moment the protest was declared. He'd raised a number of issues. One, that he would like to see, if you remember recall the Twitter space discussion, that he would very much like to see this protest occur in areas that can be easily contained, managed, and properly protected. But the protesters were pressing their rights to freedom of movement, which is guaranteed to them by the Constitution, the freedom of association, and the right of assembly. The IG repeated, why not abridging those rights? That, what he also did not say is what we see play out yesterday. The fact that the security forces we have cannot fully dominate the space called Nigeria. It's over 774 local governments. We have barely 300-something thousand policemen, 220 million people. So it's not possible for the police to be everywhere, protecting everyone, all at the same time. So the IG was alluding to that risk, and also, pressing the would-be protesters to plan their protests in a way that will aid the security forces to provide them the support that they are also supposed to provide by the Constitution. Then to the last point on what does it mean to be on red alert, security operating levels are graded. You can grade sometimes level 1 to level 5, depending on who is grading and the system of grading. If you say level 5 being the case of extreme risk, level 1 being the case of low risk or no risk, typically there can be no risk in security. There's always a risk of something occurring. So on a high risk, I think that the IG has mentioned that in some of the states, government security forces will now be on level 4, which is a high level of risk, marked by the color red. So they've coded red to show that they're at a high state of alert. The problem with that coding is what may come next. Maybe that's where people were talking about tonality. But remember that the state is the sole custodian of force, as it were. And the primary responsibility of government is protection of life and property, and also prosperity of the people. So in that graduation of force, I just wanted to make the point to say that the IG has warned, he's issued advisory, he has engaged. We now see that the protests in some areas are turning into riots. 21 people have been reported killed, over 175 reported injured, 1,135 thereabout arrested. So the police is simply saying, by the moving to level 4, that the nation is now within a grading of high risk, and they may need to take steps that they feel is necessary.
All right, before I take the view of Mr. Moka, let's also bring in Mr. Felix Moka as the National Publicity Secretary of the APC, also a human rights and pro-democracy lawyer. Mr. Moka, thank you so much as well for coming on the program. All right, so, but before I get to Mr. Moka and our guests on Zoom, Mr. Jisyogoye, your take on this one?
What was the question? The
question I asked him about the review of the IGP from the legal point of view. He talked about the assessment and some of the things that they have observed and why they are on red alert.
Well, what the IGP did yesterday, talking to his men and talking to Nigerians through the media presence, is commendable. Because rather than journalists and the media chasing the IG for anything we want to say, he readily came forward and then he had that press conference. I watched that press conference in part, and I was fascinated by the fact that he took questions from journalists and he provided the answers he could provide. Now, on day one of the protest, some of the things that the IGP was speaking to were evident from the media coverage of the protest. We saw what went on in Kano, juveniles in the fray and burning and looting. We saw what happened in Abuja. There was an order which had been obtained, which was, if you ask me, proactive, attempting to confine the protesters to designated portions. In the case of Abuja, the Moshood Abiola Stadium, we saw that the protesters, once they gathered numerical strength, defied that confinement and insisted on marching to Abuja, main center, the Eagle Square. We saw that the police in Abuja, supinely, if you ask me, didn't have any choice in the circumstances. They then started escorting the protesters and providing security cover.
But is that express disobedience to the court order? Pardon me.
I will come. It was. Look, there are many things. There are many things related to that. You could talk about that court order that I have not seen, for example, and you could talk about whether that kind of court order could be targeted at protest. I'm a lawyer, and I know that when you go to court, you sue certain persons or persons unknown that you may bring to court. So I don't know the details of how that order was obtained. I have not seen a copy of the order, so I would not be able to render an opinion on whether that was a blatant defiance or subtle disobedience. So I would not be able to say that. But what was evident yesterday was that the Commissioner of Police was there on the ground, persuading them to go inside the stadium and protest there, and some of them cynically remarking whether they were footballers that they should go into the stadium. And so they insisted on marching, and march they did, and police escorted them back to Abuja. And when they then got to Abuja and a riotous assembly developed, they started firing tear gas to disperse the crowd. It's also true, because I have people, you're talking about eyewitness account, I have people coming from Abuja that in the Nyanya and Kuba area, very early, people were being robbed and, their property were being seized, phone and all that. And they were wondering whether all day, that it was only in the evening that everything started subsiding. So, day one, we saw that very early, unlike the NSAS protest, where violence started on day 8, day 9, and so on. At least in Lagos, we saw that very early yesterday, violence had ensued. And so from the government side, I reckon that government of Abuja will now say, but we told you that you couldn't have a protest without violence. Now, let me say this. People may wish to say that the upsurge of violence while we have protest is a measure of our crudity as a people. No. In United Kingdom, everywhere, there are mass looting of property when there are protests. So don't just assume that we are the only one doing this. However, if you organizing a protest that you say will be peaceful, you have a duty, even though you don't have protest marshals that can help you. You're talking about the police not being able to dominate everywhere. Even the protesters are even fewer. You could have organizers, but how many are there? So how would they be able to dominate the environment, the Nigerian environment, and then ensure that they keep protesters in line? So usually what then happens is that once a protest is proclaimed and people are coming out, everybody is left to his own designs, and then we have this kind of thing. So the challenge, therefore, is that insofar as protest is a vindication of the right of freedom of expression, Section 39, and assembly, Section 40 of the Constitution, there's a corresponding duty to ensure that when you have protest, you don't have upsurge of violence. Finally, in Lagos yesterday, a lot of people stayed back. As far back as 2 days before the protest, people in rural area and some other parts of Lagos were carting away their goods and wares home in their vehicles because they didn't want to be looted. Like the other. So we saw a lot of voluntary sit at home yesterday, and people not coming out just because they didn't want to be caught in the middle of all. So that's significant for me.
Let's bring in Mr. Moka. Quite interesting points you have made, gentlemen. But let's bring in Mr. Moka, the APC spokesperson. Mr. Moka joins us virtually on the program this morning. Well, Mr. Moka, the protesters came out yesterday across the country and they made their voices heard. And some have said it's not too much to ask for. End bad governance, fix the economic situation, ensure that at least what they're earning can take them home. They're able to afford the basic things of life. So for your party, which is in government, have you heard the protesters loud and clear? And is there some sort of, introspection to now come out to say, well, we are sorry, we appreciate that the policies of our government have brought this untold hardship on you people. Is that something that has happened within the APC, and is that something you want to voice to Nigerians and the protesters this morning, Mr. Moka?
Thank you very much for having me. Now, the question you asked is exactly what the president addressed on the first day on assuming office as president of the Federal Republic. He said to Nigerians that one major distortion, one major rot that is at the core of the economic stagnation of our country, the fuel subsidy program that has been implemented and sustained by successive administrations must go. That was the president responding to perhaps the most, I think, acerbic, an endemic cause of the problems we have as a country. That nearly all of our earnings as a country has gone into the management of fuel subsidy. He decided that he was going to tackle that head-on. That was a statement in recognition of the fact that for a very long time in the history of our country, we have become totally captured in poverty by the management and mismanagement of this regime. The other one was the dual exchange rate. program, which he also very courageously decided he needed to harmonize. You see, look, let me just say this, because I must provide the foundation for some of the comments I will like to make in this program. That Bola Ahmed Tinubu campaigned to Nigerians that he was going to remove the fuel subsidy and try to harmonize the dual exchange rates in our country. Atiku Abubakar, who was the candidate of the PDP, presidential candidate of the PDP, also campaigned on that promise. Just like Peter Obi, the candidate in 2023 of the Labour Party. All three major candidates campaigned to do that same exact thing. But what we're seeing today is that both Atiku Abubakar and Peter Obi, who also promised Nigerians to disrupt this horrific hegemonic economic system in the subsidy, are today misappropriating that same program to rail against the president and the ruling party. Look, this is a problem that has beset Nigeria since 1999 and was actually extended to 1960 at our independence. We have become enslaved to revenue from oil. And the politics and the manipulations in that system is the reason we're here today. It didn't start a year ago. It started a long time ago. So look, all I'm saying is that this is a president that has come out courageously to do something that other presidents before him didn't do, couldn't do, didn't want to do because of what we're witnessing today, because of the negative and sometimes very difficult repercussions of policies that are inevitable, that are intended to correct some of the horrific decay. Look, my analogy is this. It's simple. When you have a problem in your tooth and you go to a dentist and he decides that a root canal is the appropriate treatment, what they do is that they open up your tooth and go to the root to clean up the nerves and the rot at the base of your tooth, and then find a way to cap it, either with a crown or with some other filling, so your tooth can become functional again. This is what this president is seeking to do.
All right.
So do a root canal and restore Nigeria to a path where we can begin to, prosper and, prosper sustainably. That is the whole program. But, look, this president has accepted.
Yes, your explanation about the problem indeed is well taken, but it's instructive to reiterate that my colleague's question was whether or not you'd be willing to apologize on behalf of the party for the untold hardship that those policies have brought upon Nigeria. But please hold your thought there. We must quickly take an update from our correspondent in Ojota area of Lagos. Kelly has an update for us. Hello again, Kelly. What's the update you have for us now?
All right. So, Bukola, again, we are just somewhere around the Ojota area, but this time around we have had to stray a bit from where the protest is happening. If you can see behind me, if the cameras can capture that behind me. I mentioned earlier the presence of security officials. You can see the Lagos Neighborhood Watch. They're right here on ground at this point, or this part of the bridge underneath. The protest is just far ahead, but the protest is ongoing. It's beginning to build gradually as the minutes go on. But guess what? We have spotted the presence of the Commissioner of Information and Strategy, Honorable Benga Omotosho, who we understand has somehow made some tour around the city to just ensure and see how the protest is ongoing. Honorable, thank you so much for your patience and standing by to speak with us. We'd like to just please bring us up to speed as to what exactly have you seen so far, the past 24 hours?
So thank you so much. First is to thank Lagosians and all of us of Lagos that this is not going out of hand at all. And to say that I have gone around, I've seen everything. It's all peaceful. And that for our people who are protesting, they have had their right, they have had their say. Mr. Sanwo-Olu, the governor, has said that he has had them loud and clear. Now it's time to go home. Now it's time to rest the protest. Now it's time to call it off and move on to action. See what the government will do about all of the things that they have said. And for our Muslim brothers and sisters, today is Friday. They should spend the Jumat to pray for the country, to pray for Lagos, to pray that the unity that we have, and all of the things that have made us true Lagosians, that we continue to cherish them. And one of those things is that Lagos is peaceful, Lagos is secure, and also to use this opportunity, like the governor did last night, to thank all our security people, all security personnel, the police command, the military, DSS, and everybody, civil society organizations, traditional rulers, religious leaders, all of the people who have contributed to the peace that we are experiencing now. And to let the protesters know that they have been heard loud and clear, and that the government is going to do all the good things that they have said the government will do. They should go home.
All right, Honorable Commissioner, because I know that we have to do this as quickly as possible. I wonder what the concerns will be for the Lagos state government. 4 years ago, it was NSAS protests which had to nosedive into some things that the world has not recovered from, or Nigerians have not recovered from. So I'm just wondering what perhaps could be the concerns for the Lagos state government, especially when you look at what has played out in Kano, in Kaduna yesterday, and I think in Bauchi State.
What has happened is that what we have done in Lagos between yesterday and today is to show that Lagos is truly the center of excellence, to show that Lagos is truly populated by people who are discerning, by people who love their city, who love their state, and to tell Lagosians that it should continue this way, end the protest, go home, and then see what the government will do. What you spoke about, NSAS, we had a destruction of Lagos on a scale beyond belief, on a scale that nobody could ever comprehend. We do not want that again. All of us have seen it. Till today, the scars are there. We are, the wound is here to heal. So we do not want that kind of thing again in Lagos. Lagosians should know that people are envious of us. They are envious of our unity. They are envious of the city that we are proud of anytime, any day. And that they should ensure that there is no violence. They should call off this protest and go home.
I mean, some accusations have been pouring in for the Lagos state government, because just a moment ago at the Ojota protest there, we saw some other youths approach the other protesters, and some had said, look, these persons are government sponsored protesters. So I wonder how you respond or react to that.
I mean, anybody who is thinking that government will sponsor some people to come and protest against people who are protesting, I mean, that's preposterous. That's absurd. I mean, it's unheard of in Lagos. We are a very sophisticated administration. We do not think that way. Everybody, the youths who are protesting and the ones who are saying they should not protest, they are all our own. All we are for is peace. All we are about is peace, because this is Lagos, the center of excellence. So, we thank God that it didn't escalate into something else. But it also, strengthens what I have said. The people who are protesting, they have been heard loud and clear. The governor, Mr. Sanwo-Olu, has said so many things. All the good things that he is doing, that he will do, they will continue. So let them go home, let them call off the protest. I mean, it's time to go on. You have spoken, you have been heard. What else? So it is good for us that we do not allow enemies of our society to hijack this.
Absolutely. I mean, so some governors came out yesterday to address protesters. Some had expected Mr. Governor to show up as well. Remember the NSAS protest? He made that appearance to speak to the protesters one-on-one. So I'm wondering, will Mr. Governor also do that? Secondly, some governors as well, some states have imposed a curfew. Is that on the considerations on the list of the government as well?
Well, Mr. Sanwo-Olu has been engaging ever before the protest started. And he continues to engage. And he said so in his statement last night, that he will continue to engage. So it's not by the time that he comes onto the street and begins to talk to people that you know that he's engaging. He's engaging them, he's engaging everybody. He's engaging religious leaders, civil society organizations, young people, old people, religious leaders, community leaders, everybody. Mr. Sanwo-Olu is talking to them. He has not been sleeping. because of this matter. And anybody who is thinking that maybe Lagos may declare a curfew, that is not the way to go. Because all of us Lagosians, from what we have seen since yesterday when the protest began, we have decided, we have accepted that we are not going to allow violence in our city. Because we have seen it before. We saw the effect, we saw the scars. The scars are here to heal, the wounds are here to heal. So we are not going to allow fifth columnists to barge into the city and cause violence.
All right. Just one final question, Honorable Commissioner. Some Nigerians had accused the government of using Oro as a means of dissuading the protesters from coming out, especially in the Ikorodu area here. Some had also accused the network providers, MTN and Airtel, yesterday. But for Lagos State here, we heard of the Oro, that practice where, I mean, we understand people are not supposed to come out at certain hours of time. Is that true?
Well, I mean, that has nothing to do with the government. But people have to understand the culture of Yoruba people, the culture of Lagos. When people are confused, when people don't know which way to go, when people feel that the atmosphere is hazy, they consult their traditional gods. And that, I think, is what the Oro people have done. But all of the people are trying to make it look as if everything is going to calm down. It's also part of all those things that we have to watch out for. Fake news, news that is meant to make you to panic, news that is meant to make you to forget that you are secure in Lagos, that you are feared. So people have no need to fear, because some people are saying that there will be Oro.
All right.
I haven't seen any.
All right. Thank you so much. All right. So there you go, guys. We'll be speaking with the Honorable Commissioner for Information and Strategy, Lagos State, Honorable Benga Omotosho, which we caught up with him right here, somewhere in the Ojota area where the protest is ongoing, extreme behind us here where we are. We'll see how we can check in at the Ikeja under bridge where yesterday the protesters mobilized from that area before they got to Ojota and bring you up to speed, guys.
All right, Kelly, thank you for your reporting. We appreciate that clarity from the Commissioner. Let's now head out from Lagos to the southern state of Rivers State, Port Harcourt, the state capital, where we have Deborah Balama joining us to bring us update from the Aba-Port Harcourt Expressway. Okay, Tai, we understand that she did give us this update. People, you know, marching across the streets of Aba-Port Harcourt Expressway is one of the most popular, perhaps the most popular, I can say, the most popular expressway in the city of Port Harcourt besides Ikwere Road. This is perhaps the most popular. And they said they are barricading parts of the road, blocking traffic. So you can see them marching across. Let's take a listen to the ambience from here.
Crowd has increased. They've blocked the 2 lanes now, so you can see vehicular movements are impossible at this juncture. I don't know, I think network is very bad. I'm trying to connect live.
All right, so that's the updates we got from we're getting from our correspondent Deborah Balama. We also have Mr. Theophilus, the president of the Joy Youth Council Worldwide, joining us. But I would first like Mr. Felix Moka, the APC National Publicity Secretary, to land on his thought because we had to interject to get to Ojota area of Lagos. Mr. Moka, maybe land on your thought and that question about whether the government will I say remorseful or sober or just want to, you know, seek for more understanding given what has happened?
Apology.
Apology, actually.
No worries. Look, the point I was making is that this president from the get-go has recognized that the levels of hardship and poverty in the country requires fundamental solutions. And this is what he's going about doing with some of the policies, corrective policies that he has sought to implement. Yes, you know, those policies have, you know, in the short term, I think somewhat worsened some of the, you know, indicators of hardship in the economy. That is expected. It was expected. And it's inevitable. But I think that Nigerians must look to the purpose and the essence of these policies to understand that these are meant to, actually create the foundation for progress and prosperity in the long term. Look, all I'm saying is that the president is aware, and we as a party, the All Progressives Congress, we are aware, and no one has been in denial of the hardship that Nigerians have had to endure. But the point is that this hardship has been with us for a very long time. It didn't start in the last 1 year. It started, way before that. But look, government is a continuum, and this president has taken responsibility to say that whatever was done or not done historically, I am the president today, and my duty to Nigerians is to try to fix that. But fixing it is not a walk in the park. It clearly will bring on some, transient, complications and difficulties which Nigerians are going through. Okay. And everyone in our party regrets that. The president regrets it. But when something is inevitable, it's inevitable.
Well, Mr. Moka.
But all I'm saying is that must stand firm and be patient.
All right, Mr. Moka.
To enable the government to
the point taken. So, in other words, this part, your government, the party government, is not apologizing to Nigeria for the hardship caused by the policies of this government.
Look, it's not about apology. Right. Apology is not a point.
Okay, action, no problem.
Deliberate, intentional action to solve the problems that were created generationally. That is the point. That's what this president is tackling.
Indeed.
It's not about apology.
Okay. Point taken yet again. Let me go to Dr. Theophilus, the president of the Joy Youth Council Worldwide, and just get a sense of how you're taking on board the messaging from government at all levels. Well, Mr. Moka just spoke for the government in power, at least the party in power, the APC. Do you sense empathy? Do you sense that this government really understands what the protesters are trying to pass across? Do you have that sense? Dr. Theophilus.
Thank you very much. Nigeria is one society that we have come to understand that those that found themselves within the corridor of power are so comfortable. They don't take the feelings of the masses into consideration in whatever way to find how the masses are. They're acting to issues. First of all, in fact, the APC publicity secretary has been very clear to us that the party does not owe Nigeria any apology. And that alone has sent the signal to us that they don't have empathy for the mass. First of all, hardship does not have what we call boundary, neither does it know who is from APC, non-PDP. Hardship is hardship. Economic hardship is economic hardship. And that is why today you see that the people of the Niger Delta, despite being the group of people that are laid the golden egg, are still coming out to tell Nigeria that enough is enough. This is not about people coming to say that the president should leave office. But somebody that does not have a good template to manage the affairs that will bring progress, dividends of democracy to Nigeria, what's not to even fit for the office of the president? Believe me, I was even surprised when the APC publicity secretary was making statements that the president took a bold step under his administration to remove subsidies. This is the same subsidies that Mr. Goodluck, Ebele Jonathan, our past president, in 2012, made pronouncement that, look, Nigeria's problem is as a result of this subsidy. And for that singular reason, that subsidy needs to be removed. And the president of today and those that find themselves within the corridor of the APC-led administration, we are saying that if subsidy is removed, that Nigeria hardship is going to be more, that Mr. President should look into the case of Nigeria, that subsidy should be reversed. And as a listening president, Goodluck Ebele Jonathan reversed the subsidy and just stop what we call pump price. When Goodluck removed subsidy in 2012, the petrol pump price was increased from 65 naira to 120 naira. But based on the educations of Nigerians that is going to cost a lot of hardship, the president sat down with his cabinet and they reversed from 65 naira to 96 naira. Today, somebody from the APC is now telling us that this is the person that have gotten Nigeria at heart. Believe me, if in 2012 subsidy has been successfully removed under the Good Luck administration, we will be here discussing about subsidy. Maybe we would have been discussing about how we can bring more refineries to be producing petrol products to reduce pump price for us. Nigeria APC government has failed us with the masses, and that is why you see that in every quarter, every part of the country, people are coming out to say that enough is enough. That does not know brother, neither does he know sister. Your tribe, why is on the economic activity, economic activity. The inflation that everybody is feeling is the same inflation. Some of our people that are in the riverine area are even experiencing over 200% inflation just because the transportation in our terrain is quite different. What am I saying? The APC government does not even understand what Nigerians are passing through as a result of their wrong policy. This is not the time where we are going to be allowing people that will be bringing trial and error programs, trial and error failure to come and manage affairs of Nigeria. We have 3 national one refineries. Okay, you have made your proclamation that you want to see. What are the plans that you have put in place to make sure that when you remove subsidy, the petrol price can be managed? You never put that into consideration. If this government is government that really understands how Nigeria are feeling, the 3 refineries that is owned by the Nigerian government would have been functional. The Dangote refinery as we speak would have been producing. Would have been problem to the Dangote refinery. But just for the fact that they are so comfortable and they find themselves within the corridor of power and they don't understand how the masses are feeling, they believe that they can play politics with everything. Today, you go to the north, people are protesting. You go to the south, people are protesting. You come to the Niger Delta, people are protesting. You go to the southeast, people are protesting. Yeah. Nigeria problem, that is where the Niger Delta people came. We think the Nigerian system that the best way to solve the Nigeria crisis is
Dr. Theophilus.
We have people of the federation. Really reduce hardship for Nigeria.
Yeah, Dr. Theophilus, Mr. Moka has heard you as a representative of government here. He has heard you, and perhaps he will be responding to that later on. But we have more updates on the action in the Federal Capital Territory this time around. We hear that police have dispersed protesters with tear gas at the Abuja roundabout in Abuja. And you have the images coming through now on your screens. We can see the protesters, but we gather that moments before they were dispersed with tear gas. Let's take a listen to this. That actuality is from yesterday. We'll bring you the images from today. But from Abuja, let's go to Imo State now, where our correspondent Tope Kute is standing by to bring us updates. Hello, Tope. Good to see you again. Yesterday, you told us there were no protests. What's happening today?
Okay, you can see behind me. I'm standing right on the popular Weather Road here in Owerri, Imo State capital, and it's life is back on the streets of Owerri compared to yesterday. This road was completely deserted yesterday. Very low vehicular activities. But today you can see vehicles are going about. There's no protest in Imo. And like I said yesterday, just same thing is happening in the southeast, all the southeast states. No protest. People have opened their shops, businesses, banks are open, and people are going about their normal businesses. Compared to what happened here yesterday, where there were low vehicular activities, people were just in their houses, and even though there was no protest, but people were just in their houses. But today, everywhere is lively, and people are back to their normal businesses.
All right. Thank you, Tokpe, for your reporting. As soon as there's updates from your end, we'll return to you. Tokpe Kute, our correspondent from Imo State, reporting from Owerri. Let's return to the studio now, and I'm going to come to you, Mr. Ogunye. We've heard from Mr. Moka, and we've also heard, feedback from the president of the Ijaw Council concerning. There's a lot that has been said about the messaging from the government about how there's talking to the protesters, to the young people, and not with the young people. And we've also heard from Mr. Moka how he has presented the position of the government. What are your sentiments about the disposition of the government towards this protest, and where does that leave us really from here? Would we say that the protesters have achieved their objective?
I'll answer your last question first. If the objective of the protest is to cause a change in critical policies of government that impact so harshly on the lives of the ordinary people and not so ordinary people, I would say that the objective has not been achieved. I hear government people say that the message has been passed, point has been made, disperse, go back home, and then wait for actions that government will take. That's what is expected of government and government officials, because they want to douse tension so that there will be peace and tranquility, and then perhaps they may take one or two actions just to ameliorate things. Now, let me say that my fundamental understanding of where we are today, which not many people are talking about, is that the Nigerian ruling class, the Nigerian ruling elites, and yes, I acknowledge that these days we don't talk about ideology anymore in public debate. We just want what is good and what is best. Is that the Nigerian ruling elites, they've not served Nigeria very well. The political class has not served Nigeria very well. And so what this government is battling with is what other governments have caused and what this government is still causing. Look, at the time Tinubu came to power, Nigeria was on the verge of bankruptcy. That's the truth. And how do I know? How does anybody know this? As it's now become evident, the CBN injected over 48 trillion naira. Not 24, not 25, into the economy, meaning printing money that they call ways and means. They are not tied to any productive activity. And worst of all, as the money is being pumped out through corruption, the money is being taken and exchanged for dollars that they are siphoning and taking. We were in a ditch. We are even in a deeper ditch right now. And I don't know whether Nigeria will notice this. The last two budgets, Nigeria was borrowing money. It was deficit budget. We were borrowing money from practically everywhere in the world to fund the budget. NNPC was not producing any money. The money that was coming was from custom and excise duties and the likes, and FIRS. That was where we were. And so when the campaign was going and everybody was excited, I want to go and be a president. Quite frankly, I've just pitied those who said they wanted to contest election. And so they got there. And the president looked at the twin devils and said, what am I going to do about it? In any case, I campaigned about it before the election. I will remove fuel subsidy. I will remove the subsidy of the naira. I will no longer defend the naira. So that arbitrage and everything then went haywire. The question is, what led to this? We are a country that produces crude, and we're importing crude from outside. Wait a minute, are we crazy? And what are we using to import the crude? Forex. Forex. We are supposed to be earning forex from crude. And we are doing 900,000 barrels. We have the capacity, OPEC-wise, to do 2.4. And that's our major revenue earner. And we are doing 900,000. And we are now using forex to import crude. And then, added to it was the subsidy regime and the thievery and larceny, unprecedented stealing that went on. And then the arbitrage. Not only arbitrage now, you peg exchange rate at 400, 500, you give this money out to your sidekicks and business partners from the CBN, and they start selling at 600. He came and said he wanted to change that. But look at where we are now. I think that the challenge moving forward is for the government to really sit down and think hard about what they will have to do about this. I understand that Dangote is doing on, and it's shame that Dangote is our salvation. I'm talking about the refinery. So what happened? A country that had refineries that weren't working, Kaduna was not working, Port Harcourt was not working, Warri was not working. So what do we imagine would happen? And added to that is what I've now seen, which has given me a personal worry. If your country is in such a dire economic strait and you are called upon to superintend the country, you have to maintain the highest form of frugality, of prudence, of rational financial husbandry, of what you have. But we're in this country now, VP Lodge, 20 billion. When Vice President Oshibajo was there, and I remarked that there was a budgetary allocation for the construction of his gate, and it was in excess of about 4 billion or something, billion. And I sat back and I said, so is it that these our money has become so useless that you need that kind of money? That may not make any meaning to those who are in government. It makes a lot of meaning to ordinary Nigerians who cannot eat, who cannot feed, who cannot send their kids to school, who die because of preventable diseases. Okay, so the government really needs to sit down. I understand that. I listened to Felix Moka's lawyer. He was on this side, and it's good that it's on that side. You were able to understand. It goes beyond just saying that the president has no choice. He campaigned for it. He had to do what he had to do. But look at the impact now. And it's good that he said that the president has said, yes, either what he did or what those who are there previously did. He's sorry, but he has to tackle the situation. So that's my understanding. Right. And unless and until that is dealt with, protesters may go home. They may disperse. The problem will persist. And so, if we do not have organized form of ventilation that won't go violent, then what kind of form of ventilation are we going to have? That's the food for thought.
Exactly where, as though you read my notes, I was coming to that particular point, which I want you to speak to as a security expert, because at the end of the day, no matter what Mr. Felix and the government and everyone is saying, all of us are primary witnesses of our own experiences. Our reality stares in our face every day. Is the government doing something? Absolutely. But are we feeling it? Not exactly. That is what the people are saying and are hitting the streets. So it feels like out of the hunger that people are feeling and the government worried about what can be escalated, it appears like scaremongering and poisoning what was going ahead. In fact, some people are saying government did more publicity for this protest than even the protesters themselves. The challenge is where it landed, which I want you to speak to as a security expert. If people go home because of, oh, we can escalate and all of that, and they still go back to their own experience, this one they gave us days to be ready for. Are you worried about what will happen next?
Very, very, very difficult question to ask and to attempt to answer. It's almost like kicking the can down the road. And I do not agree with government official who says that the people should go home. You cannot tell the people not to exercise the right that they have. Firstly, is there a bigger problem down the line? Absolutely, yes, I agree. There's a bigger problem. In managing the problem, you must first define the problem. It's not my business, but permit me to correct Mr. Moka a bit. President Tinubu did not remove subsidy. Subsidy was removed by President Buhari. Subsidy was not even in the 2023 budget. You know, that is clear. It's not even the business of this administration. I'm an economist by training, though I don't like to speak too much of that side. But I'll give you a case in point. The US is in debt today, owing $35 trillion as at today. Nigeria's total debt to GDP maybe hovers around 90-something billion dollars. The US is owing $35 trillion. By any sense of classification, the US dollar should be junk. Every currency across the world is managed. So the free flotation of the naira is a fallacy. The problem here, we're doing root cause analysis, was when government, as he said, government was broke, really. The last administration, clearly. When you try to do too many things at the same time, you should anticipate a crisis. It is said that at every point of change, at every curve of change, there's a crisis. That crisis anticipation and preparedness and planning for, from a security risk management perspective, perhaps was not thoroughly done. What the government should have done first was, yes, remove subsidy, which has already been removed, find a way to manage your currency. The bigger problem we are having now is importation of inflation through the irregularities in our currency. Currency today is $1 to 1,600. Nigeria is not at war. Ukraine is at war. The economy is destroyed. Ukraine is not exchanging for that much in their currency. Yet we produce and export services and crude. We are still earning. So there are fundamental flaws in the way our currency is structured. It must be addressed. The bigger problem is the dollarization of the Nigerian economy. Case in point, what do we need as a nation DOM account for? I was in Heathrow the other day. I forgot myself. My card was not working because of this issue. So I flashed a dollar bill. I wanted to buy coffee. I gave the person I forgot, because I thought I had King Dollar anyway. I may have forgot I was in the Heathrow. The lady rejected and said, listen, they can't take the dollar. We have DOM accounts. There are government agencies that charge you levies in dollars. So there is a bit of an aberration with the DOM account system and the dollarization of our economy. We need to address that. If you tell the protesters to go home, what is the biggest pinch of the protesters? It's not energy price. I beg to disagree. Across the world, energy prices are expensive. Food is the problem. The people are on the streets because food is the problem. We have been under asymmetric attack in this country for the past 15 to 20 years. I have been shouting myself hoarse on this matter. What do I mean? Look at where you have the header farmer clashes, the bandits farmer clashes, where you have activities of Boko Haram. Northeast had our largest cattle population anywhere in Africa. North Central, our food belt region. Within the forest regions between Kaduna, Niger, Abuja, Plateau, food belts, completely threatened. Our food system has been under threat. Incipiently, our food production has been going down. If you look at, somebody has to do the analysis for you, crop production to GDP has been on a nosedive, but population has been surging. So there is always been this problem that is coming. So if you reverse subsidy, it will not solve the problem of food inflation, which is the biggest problem. So to solve the problem, and this is my point, we stop playing politics with the matters of insecurity. There's a phenomenon now called securonomics, where you look at the implications of security on the economy and how that without security you cannot ensure economic development. The state governors are our biggest problems. Under President Buhari's administration, he floated the idea of giving the state governors state police. Through their houses of assembly, Our state governors rejected the bill. On what grounds? They said they could not pay for police. So they rejected it. The farmer can't go to the farm. He farms. He can't harvest his crop. He wants to go to harvest his crop. He's kidnapped. He pays money for security to farm. He pays money for security to harvest. So we've had that case for a long time.
He pays money to transport it to location.
Everything. Now,
It goes to location, it pays money to those who are on the ground or money to ensure that.
Now, let me make us laugh. We are all protesting. What is the essence of the protest? End bad governance. Not remove the president. Bad governance from where? Look to the governors who have failed and refused to discharge duty of providing security at the state. Look at where you have flashes of protest in this particular round of protests. It's a failure of governance.
Well, I think there's enough blame, as they say, to go round for the federal, the state. I mean, the former president, Muhammad Buhari, in an exclusive interview with Channels Television, had ruled out state police. Fine, the state assemblies play their role too, but the thinking, the direction, they said the body language, in fact, the language of the president at that time was, he ruled out state police, and that's on record.
We accuse the president too much.
No, this is fact. I'm not accused. I'm just stating the fact.
I'm even saying that the president is from an old order of the military bloc. The military thinks in unitary form of command. Chain of command must be one. But Nigeria today is not Nigeria of 1960. We are 220 million people, 704 local governments, constantly expanding.
Right.
So this, our problem, in fact, the truth is, this president will fail. And it's not my prayer that he should fail. If he tries to repeat the mistakes of past presidents.
So you have to properly decentralize and allow all the other organs.
Yeah. He must decentralize powers to the state governors, devolve what we have in the exclusive list, so that we can have local inputs, local initiatives.
Right.
And he may have begun that with the
local
granting of
autonomy.
Absolutely. To local
that is the way to go.
It's a no-brainer, really.
But will it work because of the concern that the state governors will still hold on somehow, directly or indirectly, to the funds of the local government?
Before you answer that question,
yes.
Let's decentralize the conversation and head out to the streets. It's important to also find out what's happening out there.
Yeah, you will. That's a very important point.
You will, but we need to touch base with our correspondents across the country, just so you get a sense of what this day looks like. Yesterday we brought you all of that, but let's go to Rivers Secretariat, that's in Rivers State, and just show you a sense of what is playing out there, where our correspondent Deborah Agbalama has been, of course, following the protests there. That you see someone rolling on the floor. You know, it's a mix of different things for this protest. Someone waving the flag, then the banners coming afterwards. So let's just allow you listen to what they're saying there. From the nation's capital, Abuja, where we see the protesters. We understand that the police fired canisters of tear gas on the protesters in the nation's capital. A medley of protesters were seen gathered at the popular Julius Berger roundabout in Abuja with heavy security presence, and they were carrying placards, as you can see, but then the canisters of tear gas started dropping in their midst, and there you see the fumes of the smoke from the canisters filling the air. So that is the state right now at Berger roundabout in Abuja.
And apparently there's been some action in Abuja after all. You know, recall earlier our correspondent Benny Ark had reported from the Moshood Abiola Stadium where there hadn't been any protester. But apparently we've seen protesters deployed in Abuja. From Abuja now we return to Lagos, the nation's commercial capital, where Kelly Egiga, our correspondent, yet again has another update for us. I believe Kelly is still at the Ojota area of Lagos State. Hello again, Kelly. What updates can you provide at this time?
All right, so Buki, Jeff, and Kayode, I mean, we had thought that we would leave the Ojota for a moment and head towards the Ikeja underbridge area. But guess what? The numbers here have tripled in the last 1 hour or less. Just a moment ago, the protesters were having some really nice time here, playing some conscious music. They had to also sing the national anthem, but then again, they had to revert to the old national anthem here. So it was moving on very smoothly until after some time, this particular road here was shut down or has been shut down. As you can see, there's no vehicular movement. If you can see on my back here, the motorists would have to have a hard time having to pass through this particular Ikorodu road at the moment. So that's what we can tell you as we speak right now. But then again, to the protesters, 360 to our viewers, if they can have an idea, a feel of what it is here at the Ojota area, Lagos, Nigeria. So this is how it is. Movement has been really, really hectic here because it takes a while for vehicular movement to go through this particular road. Then again is the fact that the organizers of the protesters are asking the demonstrators to now park, to go inside the park, and the protesters here they have declined to do that. Some have gone inside the park, but many others are still right here on the road. They are resisting. They do not want to go inside the park. Some have told me behind camera that they don't want to be confined inside the Gani Fawewimi Park here in Ojota, Lagos. So it's becoming a bit rowdy. The organizers somehow have perhaps losing control of the numbers here that are gathering at the Ojota area. Let's see if we can bring you one or two of the protesters to share with us what exactly they are saying, what exactly the issues are. Just a moment, please. Just a moment. Just a moment. All right. Let me begin with you. So what's the issue for you? Why are you not going inside the park?
We are not going inside the park because protest is mainly to be done at the road. You know, when you block the road, that's when the government will know that we are serious with our mandate. You telling us to go back inside there is like hosting a party. You understand? I've never seen anywhere protest is done whereby people will do it inside. If it's that one, we'll just know that it's gets together. But I left my house to come and protest. You understand? We didn't come to come and have party or street jam. Thank you.
All right. So that's what it is. It's becoming really rowdy. They are resisting. They do not want to go inside the park. They want to protest right here on the road to ensure that grievances are heard and all of that. So that's what it is right here for the protesters here at Ojota. Back to you.
All right, Kelly, I'm wondering if you can still hear me. The place, can it contain the number of people that are on the road? So let's look at space and ability to contain them.
Well, so I think it can perhaps contain the number of persons here. But the fact is this. the last 1 hour, 60 minutes ago, this was not what we had here. So the numbers are increasing by the day. Somehow I think the security presence here has perhaps reduced a bit. So the numbers of protesters, they are beginning to come out a bit more. And so it can't take them perhaps, but it's the fact that they feel confined. And look at what is going on now right here with those who have to try to pass here. Some try to block vehicular movement, while others try to see how they can ensure and aid movement. If we can just pull out a bit more, let's see what we can establish for our viewers if they are watching us here. So this side is, take a distance to my right hand side here. See the number of persons here to my right. Some have moved inside the park, by the way. Some protesters have moved into the park, but some are right here outside the park. They have resisted this particular instruction. They say they want to stay on the streets and make their grievances and demands heard.
Before we let you go, Kelly, you had mentioned the issue of infiltration by some people. What's the latest update with that? Because Benga Motusho, the commissioner, said government did not send anyone to come and, distract or infiltrate those that are protesting. That everybody has a right to gather wherever they want to gather.
Yes, so we had actually spotted some guys walked in an hour ago thereabouts, but somehow those guys left. But one of the reasons the organizers are giving for the need for the protesters or demonstrators to move inside the park is the fact that they have their own insecurity intel, and so what they have heard, what they are saying, or what they are hearing is not too good, and so that's why they had thought it is better for them to go inside the park so that they can avoid any sort of disruptions or. But the others make their demands felt.
All right. Well, Kelly, I understand that, as you said, it's getting rowdy, but I can see that there's been some sort of allowance for the vehicles to pass through. But speak to us about security presence. How secure is the place? How much of a control does it look like the security operatives have, and their deployment as well? Kelly.
All right, so like I reported earlier on, there was a heavy presence of security officials here when we arrived here. But I think that somehow those numbers have reduced now. We cannot see so much of the security presence here. My cameraman can give our viewers a 360 again, and let's see if we can pull out and let's see more. So there you go, some pockets of security officials somewhere to my extreme right there. They are just littered and scattered around, not as heavy as we saw them on ground here when we arrived. If our viewers are also watching around the world, above the bridge as well, on the expressway, we can see some officials as well, where they were stationed there at some point. But as it were, after a while, they keep moving and patrolling this area. So security officials are here, the police is here, the NSCDC pockets of the officials were here on ground. Manowar, the Labour Watch as well was also on ground a moment ago, and vigilante groups as well. But I think that the numbers have reduced a bit a few minutes ago.
Absolutely, stay safe.
So let's bring in this protester. So he has really been wanting to speak. Let's give him the opportunity to air his view. So what's your name?
My name is Wisdom. Who do Wisdom?
All right. So
this is the policeman. The governor will come now to tell them to pursue us so that we can go inside and protest. We are saying no. We are not going inside to protest. If they are here to protest us, they should not disturb us. We have not caused any violence. They are the ones that have injured some of our people yesterday for going home. Of course, we show. They injured some of us. And this is an act of telling us to go inside. And there are somebody in the act of to tell us to go inside and protest for what? We don't have God. They have to shoot us inside their kids. This is not the first time it's happening. They have killed people yesterday. So they are telling us to go inside and shoot us. No, we are not going inside.
Look, guys, that's what the story is right here at the Gani Fawemihimi Park, Ojota, Lagos, Nigeria. There is that resistance. Some protesters have gone inside the park, but others many more others have rather insisted they're going to stay right here on the road and make their grievances, their governments, their grievances and demands felt by the government. You can see the police officials too to my also trying to protest as well. It's really becoming rowdy. My cameraman, do well to just give us that shot as well. It's really becoming rowdy, guys. It's becoming really rowdy. There's the resistance.
Well, Kelly, if you can hear us, you might need to find a safe spot where you can film from. You're watching live images from the Ojota area of Lagos. Our correspondent Kelly Giga has just been hit. His microphone fell off and the battery as well. So he's trying to... All right, Kelly.
Yeah, can you guys hear me now? All right, so it's really becoming violent. It's really becoming violent. Just a moment, guys. Just a moment, guys.
Calm down, calm down.
All right, it's really becoming rowdy and a bit violent. Just a moment ago, one of the protesters actually snatched our Channel TV mic and slammed it on the floor. That's how rowdy is becoming here. So there's a back and forth as to whether or not some protesters can go inside here and some can stay on the road. Some want to go inside, some have gone inside, but others have decided to stay right here on the road. The arguments for those against those who are on the road is that they want some sort of vehicular movement. But the protesters and demonstrators, they feel confined. They feel if they go inside there to protest, they feel restricted. And so that's the fear for these ones. They want to stay on the road right here and make their grievances and demands felt. Guys.
What you say is that you keep some safe distance so that we don't have any incident on our hands as much as possible. Just keep safe. I wanted to find out from you exactly what the police is actually saying, because I know you've been talking about the argument amongst the protesters. So we're going to touch base with Kelly. That if we take it back to,
we'll just keep Kelly.
Taraba next,
we'll just keep Kelly live on the stream, so you can at least get a sense of what is happening in Ojota. We'll just keep him on the side of the screen and touch base with others, because it looks like things are escalating there in the Ojota area of Lagos. So Kelly will find a safe spot, but you can still get a sense of what is playing out there. Yes, Mr. Ogunye, Mr. Dekoya, 2 minutes, 1 minute each. What are your thoughts about what's going on there?
My thoughts on that is that this is actually the challenge of organizing mass protests and all that. Now, if you look back to the NSAS protest, the moment on Lekki Ajasis that road was successfully blocked, which is an arterial road, and then the people on the other side were locked in. People don't understand this. 3-4 days to that final skirmish or crisis, people could no longer access that road anymore. If that road in Ojota, an arterial road, is successfully blocked, that's going to be a wake-up call to other people in other parts of Lagos to start blocking their roads. So if people this morning were celebrating that yesterday was very peaceful in Lagos and all that, it's because incidents like these were yet to occur. And my sincere view is that if you are not having a procession and you are moving and you insist as a protester, as one of them or two of them insisted on the footage, insisting that, look, this is not a tea party, this is not a party, so he cannot go into a park, he must, stay on the road and all that. The security agents have a duty, and I'm saying this clearly, to ensure that traffic continues to move on that road.
But if you heard another protester, as you respond now, Mr. Dekoya, another protester talked about security concern if they went into the park. How valid is that concern?
I think that yeah, the concern is valid if you are claustrophobic. For example, when you're being asked to go into a closed environment, you may have some germane concerns. There's also the risk of counter-protest, meeting them there. But I've seen a lot of mistakes being made by most journalists that say that NSAS, you had counter-protesters coming early. NSAS continued for a long time. Counter-protests did not even occur in Lagos until police stations were starting to be burned down. We had prison breaks in Ikoyi. You then had arson attack on some of the BLT installations. You had an attack on prison in Abuja. You had some people beginning to move.
You didn't mention the High Court of Lagos.
Oh, the High Court also, and even the Oba's Palace. And then particularly, people had begun to move to Aso Villa, So, again, counter-protest within statecraft is within the remit of what the state can do to act as a counterbalance. Because the alternative to that, given the weapons that the security forces have, will be mass casualty. You understand? So, the fear of a counter-protest is germane. It being a tool of state is still there as a possibility, can be deployed, because you weigh the options of the ifs and what can happen. But clearly what is happening is a breach of peace. which is what the IG was warning against. You know, you have your right to protest. The court has restricted you to a particular space. I was asking the lawyer of, can some people in this instance be charged with conduct likely to breach peace, which is a criminal offense? I think they can. Then also the people who plan the protest, in exercising your right, you have a duty. So since you insisted that you must do your protest and you organize it, don't forget the duty to keep other people's right from being abridged or abrogated. So this is getting to a point, like the Lugbe thing you were talking about. Reports has it that people were they were saying that they are going for ShopRite in Lugbe, and that was their target. So it was not protest. At about 7 p.m. under the cover of darkness, you had a swarm of people approaching and advancing towards that area, and they got engaged. In fact, the burst of fire lasted until 11 p.m. to 12 last night. I reckon that another attempt again will be made on that ShopRite Lugbe. The ShopRite in Ikeja is also not far from Ojota that we are seeing. So I sense that the bulk of the people outside the area are not peaceful protesters, as they seem to. They look like people who want to take opportunity and do whatever it is they want to do. So that's my concern. This is beginning to degenerate. Yeah.
Well, you know, it's quite tricky. I know a lot of people will cast their mind back to NSAS, but a lot of people saw people wielding cutlass. I'm sure you know that iconic image of a hoodlum wielding cutlass, which was described, and that was on the 14th. I think that's when we saw those images, just a few days after the protest started. So we've had, I'm just trying to put the context, the timeline, and you remember that iconic image, a young man holding, and people have asked, can we identify this person till today? They've not been able to do that.
You know that.
So those were counter-protests.
I witnessed that thing. It happened in front of the secretary.
Exactly, just...
You know, there are a group of people who caught her there, and all throughout the protest, in front of the Legislative House, the House of Assembly, that gate, and then one of the days I was driving to the office, and you know, they came with buses and all that, and were trying to, but they were overwhelmed and chased away.
By the protesters.
By the protesters. Okay? Now, if you are talking about equivalency, we also saw police stations being burnt. We saw policemen being beaten to death.
Burnt?
You know,
policemen killed, actually.
Killed, and so on and so forth. So, that's the challenge.
We should have learned lessons.
Yes, that's the challenge.
And speaking of lessons, you know, we could still refer to that area now about the sensitivity or lack of it of the security agents present there to what just happened.
No, let me just say this quickly.
There was no
apologies. We understand there's an update coming in from Rivers State. So, you know, so many things are happening at the same time. So we want to keep tab. We still have all our 4 guests, including Mr. Moka and Mr. Theophilus. So that's the CP of Rivers State, Tunji Dusit, briefing protesters at the Pleasure Park in Port Harcourt. Let's listen to him.
Open your eyes. Keep watch. I am aware 2 phones have been stolen here. So, yes. So keep watch, open your eyes, ensure they do not hijack this from you. So far, so good. I'm happy with you. I'm comfortable with you. Thank you so much.
Once again, please, Commissioner, please. If you found any criminal, any stupid elements, any hijackers, we will grab them and call your men. We will hand them over to your men. So please, your men to also cooperate with us. So if we find any hijacker, any criminals, we will arrest the person ourselves and hand them over to your men. Thank you, and God bless you.
I have a request. I have a request. I do not want you to block the road. Allow people to wait. I want people to pass and go to their area. People keep the road and block. It is no longer open. You are infringing on the rights of other members of the public. If you infringe on the rights of other protesters,
the request we have also is, sir, yesterday, you can see how peaceful it was. We moved from here to the government house, and the governor came out and addressed us with other issues. We're also promising you that while we are working on the street, we're not going to attack anybody, whether invade any vehicle or any shops. We also count on us, sir. Please Because when we stay here, the crowd will close out more and cause chaos. But when we see and protest and move to make ease for the crowd control. Thank you, sir.
I want to assure you, I'm leaving the two here, an assistant commissioner of police. You can relate with him. Everywhere you want to go, they will go and they will protect you. Is it friendly? And I want you to compete with Is it friendly? It's friendly. Our officers are friendly. Okay, so we thank you for your participation. Where do you want to go? We are not going anywhere. Where do you want to go? Thank you, sir. We are not going anywhere. We are staying here. We assure you that because when you are starting, it's easy to control the crowd to avoid looting. Anything happens anywhere, you know that it is not spot. And that's why this place, there is no supermarket here or anything. Taxi man, no cab has been harassed and none will be harassed. We respect your professional and we applaud that. We're also telling you that even if we are not happy with the government, that's why this protest is being held. We assure you that the people here are very, very decent. So, trust us, nobody will loot, steal, or vandalize anything. Thank you, sir.
From Port Harcourt, the Rivers State capital, the Commissioner of Police, Tunji Disu, just spoke with the protesters, asking them that they should move away from the road, not block vehicle movement. And gentlemen, it's like there's a stark difference, what we're seeing playing out here and what played out or is still playing out in the Ojota area of Lagos. Perhaps we should have had police operatives, security operatives address the protesters, just as we just saw here. Is that something you think will have helped in the Ojota area of Lagos?
No. You know, that could have helped. But you see, there are so many interests involved in protests like this. You know, many people come there with a mindset to cause chaos.
Right.
Many want to protest really, and they're very patriotic about it, and they're very passionate about protest. So people have different agendas. So if you have people who have a mindset of being defiant, of staying on the road, of blocking, you don't even know whether some of them are fifth columnists who provoke the dispersal by force.
Or by tear gas.
So a lot of things are in the mix when you have a kind of protest like this. But I think that the police are trying to engage in Lagos. The police in Lagos, you know, coming from that orgy of violence. You know, in the wake of that, you saw the governor, who's still the governor now, you know, going to the police headquarters to encourage them, because the police in Lagos really suffered a lot during that crisis. Their esteem was lower, you know, a lot happened to them, to their psychology.
We still have Dr. Theophilus, of the Joy Youth Council, joining us virtually, and this is an area you're familiar with. I'd just like to get your thoughts, Dr. Theophilus, because these are your people as well, and seeing how the protest is building up, how there's the engagement, seeing what's happening in Lagos State. By the way, we'll still touch base with Taraba State just in a moment, and with our correspondent in Ojota. I just wanted to get your thoughts on what you just saw play out, Dr. Theophilus.
Thank you very much. You know, Rivers State is one peculiar state in the Niger Delta that we have civilized group of persons. You know, one thing that has played out when protests of this nature or magnitude are being called to place is that the interference, the counter-protest. Today, you can see that Rivers State, no matter how the protest is given, based on the sectors and the level at which the governor has interfaced with them, in conjunction with the security, you can see that there is no breakdown of law and order. And this is what we expect. You cannot silence every person just because you believe that they are trying to give you negative credit in terms of your government. That is not the reason why people are coming out to protest. So some group of persons are always trying to give it a name that doesn't exist, has always been the reason why sometimes protests go into violence. Like in Bayelsa State, what happened yesterday? Peaceful protesters moving And you see those within the corridor of power coming up with other policies, other activities that will definitely clash with the peaceful protesters, just to give the protesters a bad name. We have it in good record that a serving House of Rep member and some group of persons deliberately instigating hoodlums to attack. As we speak, only yesterday protest in Bayelsa State, we have some group of persons that was injured, received gun injuries from hoodlums. Look at Rivers State, just because of the maturity the government of the day has been managing the situation in conjunction with the security. You can see that nothing, even a single fly, has not been touched, just because there is some level of understanding, and the people understand that the government of the day understand their plight. And when the governor came to address them, he told them that their message, he will communicate it to Mr. President. That is what the people want to hear. And not the one you will come out and tell the people that there is no hunger in our states. People should not come outside to, in fact, express how they feel about the government and their policies. That is just the situation on ground. And I believe that Rivers State, in these 10 days protest, they are going to manage it. And we believe if the APC government does not infiltrate the process by coming up with counter-protesters, believe you me, this is how Rivers State is going to manage our 10 days peacefully, and no life is going to, no property is going to be destroyed. And that is why we are also trying to send this message across to those our protesters in the northern region, that the essence of this protest is not to destroy our already owned structures or infrastructure. We just want to register, the masses just want to register their displeasure with the harsh policies that the government is bringing, that is having negative economic impact on the people. The essence is not to go and destroy our already own infrastructure. No, that is not the essence. It's those within the corridor of power that believe that these people that are coming to take power away from them and mobilizing counter-protests. Okay, when these protesters were trying to say that they are going to protest, the security and all the rest said that these people should write to them, informing them. Are they not telling us that these counter-protesters also wrote to them to take permission or inform them that they are also going to protest on this same day? If the police and the security structures are not going to be taking sides of the government on issues of this nature, believe you me, protests are going to be completely peaceful. Protests are going to be completely... See, some of Nigerians are educated group of persons. We are politically literate. We cannot just say that because we are protesting, we should not. No, it's fine. People always have negative tendencies when issues of this nature. But if the security are on ground, believe you me, we won't have those things. You know that some places where we have a flashpoint, this place, if these protests are going to take place, issues of this nature might happen. You beef up the security in those areas. But leaving it so that you just want to target a name that, yes, when protests of this nature come, this is the situation, you already design it so that you give it a bad name. It's not the best interest. It's not of the best for Nigerian government and those that are managing us within the states. And I keep on saying, today, all the protesters are calling the policymaker, which is the federal government. Having been, power has been decentralized, most of these protesters will be calling the name of their governors, because those are the people that they gave the mandate to manage that.
All right, Mr. Theophilus, if I may butt in. My apologies if I may butt in, so we can touch base with other locations across the country, but your points are duly noted. Let's now head to Taraba State and give you an update of what is going on there in Taraba.
On a very, very serious note, there is problem, there is hunger.
Yes, sir. Of course, sir. That's the fact. That's the fact we are here.
It is my responsibility,
Yes, sir.
as your brother,
Yes, sir.
as your governor,
Yes, sir.
to make sure that the best come back to you.
Thank you, sir.
All of you are very, very important.
important. I will make sure that we do all that is necessary. But I mustn't pass around. We will make sure we do everything that is necessary as quickly as possible to help all of you. What I want you to do is to organize yourself. How we can reach out to you, because I don't want anybody to cheat you. I want to deal with you directly.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. I love you, sir.
Give us what we demand. Just revise the fuel price and provide security. And again, there are so many things that is going wrong. Let him come and talk to us. Let the president come and talk to us. That's what we want. Thank you.
All right, sir. In respect of this particular play we are out of staying there, it is not convenient for all of us to be there because we only have one entry. It's like we are going to be caged in that place. We are already aware the government is doing anti-protection. They are sending people to come and cage us into that place. Just like what happened in Abuja yesterday. We don't want to explain that in this place. We cannot go into that place and be caged in that place according to government policy. That if we are caged in that place, we don't have freedom of movement. And let's see warn them this morning. The people should be given a right to do what they need to do. We are not going to destroy anything in this place. We are not supporting any who knows to make sure that anything here between the environment here is destroyed. We are protesting for our right. The president himself will come out. I am saying, President Bola Tinubu, if you had the people's mandate, he should come out and forget all the people who call the ministers, who does not have the mandate of the people. The people do not vote ministers, they vote the president. Why is he shying away to come and speak to the people that are elected into power, except he recognizes himself as not the president of this nation anymore? If you know there is the president of this nation, it is the right time for him to come out and speak to the Nigerian people who are in the street crying for hunger every day on daily basis. Nobody can move anywhere. Back on rice 100,000. And he giving what do you call it? Minimum wage of 70,000 naira. We cannot afford a bag of rice. Where we go? People should come out. People should come out. It is the right time. He has to come out and speak to Nigeria. We are tired. We are tired. Thank you very much.
Ojota in Lagos, Nigeria. So we move from across state, from Rivers to Taraba and now to Lagos. Those are live visuals you're seeing from Ojota here in Lagos, Nigeria. Correspondent Kelly Agiga making sure that all sides, as many as possible, are ahead. The policemen, we can see them, we see protesters. We can see now that vehicles are being allowed to pass through, which was a major concern, that your right to express yourself should not infringe on someone else's right to move around. Let's take a listen.
Back to these guys, please.
Live images from Ojota there, where it appears tempers are high from one of the speakers there, and the numbers from correspondence reportage are increasing by the minute, or if you like, the hour. And of course, security operatives are present there. We'll keep tabs with the situation in Ojota, and we hope that it doesn't degenerate. We'll keep tabs with Ojota. In the meantime, we'll return to the studio. Ojota right now, as it is very concerning. And I go back to the point I made earlier, during that momentary incident where we saw one of the protesters hit a correspondent's microphone. It dropped, and it was looking for it. We didn't see a quick response from the security operatives who were, at some distance. What if it turned, a little more violent than that? I wonder if you agree with me, so Ogunye, that the psyche of security operatives is a bit different from what we experience in other parts of the country because of the NSAS experience of 2020. Mr. Adikoye?
Yeah, absolutely. Their psyche was impacted negatively, but it's been built up. It's 4 years now. It's back. Funnily, they are now a bit more on the edge. Not that they are down-spirited, but their latitude to withstand taunts has been reduced greatly, which is why you hear the IGP, because we lost a lot of policemen in that last cycle of violence. So the IG has been very clear. I mean, there was a video circulating that we saw a senior officer charging his men to apply force continuum. Force continuum is a doctrine of escalation, where you escalate as escalation becomes necessary. So it's good to see that they have not done as they are feeling on the inside, that they're exercising restraint. In the instance you shared, it's not safe for you to carry an AK-47 into the midst of a crowd of people, because that's a very dangerous rifle. If it bounces off on the ground and it's a rapid fire mode, you can have a bigger crisis. So it's sensible that the police, who have not been told, they don't have rubber bullets, they don't have certain things, they cannot rush in. They're staying and creating a cordon around the protesters. And what I think I want to see is also to educate Nigerians that when you're planning a protest like this, the protest planners must also have protest stewards, people who can be marked like protest marshals, who can act as a support to law enforcement, guiding the people into different behaviors they want to see. I think that's what we need to see as a lesson going forward. That when you're planning a protest, plan security also that will complement the security of the state. And that may also help in a case like Ojota.
Right.
So
it's
by the way, go ahead.
Speaking to these live images, so it looks like they are now on a procession, unlike what we saw earlier on, that they were at a spot. And I think this is fairly what you were expecting, at least, to happen, so that there can be vehicular movement. Now, NSAS, and we have to keep referring to it because that's like the reference point, right? The violence we saw was not by the protesters, who came out to do their own thing peacefully. Obviously, the counter-protest was not by the protesters. The carnage and eventual destruction we saw was not by the identified protesters. And the point here is they have demands. And for them, that is what they want to be met. Meet our demands. And you can see some of them. Place public officials on minimum wage, return subsidy. I know, Mr. Ogunye, you talked about the twin devils that this government had to look at and chase away. But these are the pain points. You've talked about food inflation. At the heart of it is food. You saw the young man with the banner, and he chronicled the price of different paint buckets of food items. So that is the pain point, food item. Inflation. And they've said civil disobedience is the way they want to go about this to make their points known. So, Mr. Ogunye, there's a lot of moving parts here, but the onus is still on government to make that move.
I agree. Not just because our constitution says so, and we cite this often. The security and welfare of the people is the primary purpose of government, Section 14, 2B of the Constitution. Not just because Constitution says so, because it is the reality. Look, we talk about dysfunction in the system. A tuber of yam now is selling average 4,000, 5,000. Issue in Lagos. That's the reality. And so food prices have skyrocketed, and people have their backs to the wall. But you see, the duty of government is not only to open the store, open the food reserves, open where they store foods and say they are going to force prices of food stuff down. I guess that part of the duty of government is to also mobilize the people to do what the people ought to do. We have about 20 million people in Lagos, and all of us have no farmlands where we do subsistence farming. A lot of people now, including elites, that have encountered on one-on-one, are now talking about cottage farming. Talking about putting yam in sacks in their houses and all that, growing. I think that the first lady is trying to popularize something like
which
that.
Which has come under heavy fire as well.
But that's something.
Right.
That we should look at. So if you have 20 million people and all we do, including elites, including middle class, everybody, farming, including those who are protesting, what we do every day, because we must eat, is to then say we want to buy food. When the purchasing power of that money crashes, we're in trouble.
So, Mr. Abuja,
part of the duty of government, because I want to anchor, is to also prioritize food production. It's not just about, I come from a place that sometimes now I ask, do you even have June 20 every year is a New Yam Festival Day? And I ask, do you have yams that you eat? Some of them, for New Yam Festival, they wait for the yams from the Middle Belt.
All right. We'll head to Abuja.
Just pardon me. It's a lot of things happening.
There's a lot. Here. We're going to come to I would like both of you to speak to it before we head for the break, which is the issue of the president coming to speak to the people. What will that do to change the psyche of the protesters? But let's head to Abuja first up. We understand there's an update from our correspondent, Benny Ark. Benny, tell us what's going on in Abuja. All right, Benny can't. As soon as we reconnect, we'll get established connection with him. We'll get back to him. But maybe let me come to you, Mr. Adekoya. There has been some calls since yesterday, and even before the protest, that the president should speak. I don't know what it is with Nigerian presidents and not speaking. From Muhammadu Buhari to this president, not speaking is almost, I don't know. What is going on? What can that do to change anything?
Thank you for the question. Before I answer that question, I'm going to touch a bit on what Mr. Agunye talked about everybody doing their own part. Are you aware that the Lagos State government has like a food system plan?
Yeah.
Where in parts of Ekwe, they have reserved areas for farming. In fact, there was a plan at the time where you could procure 6 plots of land for 250,000.
Is it still on?
I don't know. What has happened now is that some of those areas for farming are being procured. I mean, I could have bought some, but I'm not into farming. I told my younger brother who runs a farm, go and consider to the point. Those lands allocated for farming are being bought by real estate people.
My sincere apologies, Mr. Adekoya.
Yes.
They say Mr. Correspondent Benny Ark is standing by. So let's get to Benny. Quickly, as quickly as possible, let's get your update.
Hello, Jeff, can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead with the update you have for us, Benny.
All right, this is the Moshood Abiola National Stadium in Abuja. If you recall, we were here earlier this morning with visibly no crowd in sight. But it's a far cry from what it was this morning to this point, with a whole lot of protesters out here this morning calling for different things from the government, calling to an end to hunger, end to bad governance, and a whole lot of agitations and cry going on here. The protesters on with heavy security presence, and I have one of the protesters here with me who has something to say. What's your name, and tell us what you're here for today?
My name is Mokocha Kennedy. I'm here. This is day 2 of the nationwide protest tagged End Bad Governance protest. The nationwide protest is going simultaneously across the nation. So we have actually made demands, and if the government is listening, if if they are not inept, to the problems of this country, they must have seen it. And so we are here to continue this protest. And we have said we are going to protest for 10 days. And we are hoping that within these 10 days that the government would have given him and given solutions to the problems, that we have actually articulated. And one of those problems is removal of fuel subsidy and ending hunger. One of those problems is also judicial reform. One of those is also electoral reform, among other things. But unfortunately, since yesterday, there have been an intention of the government to actually intimidate and cow the protesters, not to highlight or bring to the attention of the president. We have felt that perhaps if the ministers of this Tinubu is not actually giving him the right information, that this should have been an opportunity for him to listen to his citizens direct. As somebody who was a chief protester, he protested all his adult life. During an Adeko time, he protested against the military regime. And in 2015, he protested against Jonathan government. In short, it was during that time that he made this tweet and said, police should not shoot at innocent protesters.
Okay, this is day 2 of the protest, and the IG has warned protesters not to continue. That was his word of advice. And after today, do you think this protest, if the government doesn't heed to what the calls and demands are, do you guys intend to continue to day 10?
Anyway, the IG of police is not above the constitution of this country. The grand norm is the guiding principle, is the rock upon which any nation is built. And he cannot tell Nigerian people, except the IG, what he should do, he should tear Nigerian constitution. He should call even a national conference, and actually discard, burn Nigerian constitution. Until he does that, we cannot actually respect him above the constitution. The constitution of Nigeria, section 39, section 40, actually give the people of this country the freedom to assemble, the freedom of expression, and the freedom to protest. In short, the president himself is a chief protester. In short, I'm expecting that the president, if he's sincere, if he's a Democrat that he has touted and has...
All right. Well, Mosenka, correspondent Benny, taking the thoughts of the protesters, but we're totally out of time. So Mosenka, our guest, who stayed with us, GT Ogunye, legal practitioner, Onyeka Adekoya, security and defense consultant, as well as Dr. Alaye Tari Theophilus, president of the Joy Council Worldwide, and Mr. Felix Moka, the National Publicity Secretary of the APC. Thank you all, gentlemen, for coming on the program, and we'll continue to follow this. It's our continuous coverage of the national protest called the End Bad Governance. We'll take a quick break. Top of the hour is going to be News Track. We'll be back after then. Join us again.